So look, the truth of the matter is, everybody makes mistakes. It's part of life, and hopefully we learn from those mistakes as we grow and age and just live our lives. But regrets happen, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. Hey everybody, my name is Travis Mark. I'm the host of the Musician's Mentor podcast, and now this Musician's Mentor YouTube channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new, welcome. Regardless, please do me a favor while you're here. Check out the podcast playlist and smash that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you. In a world where everything gets compared all the time, I think it's very easy to watch videos or reels, see a post on social media, and think that everybody's always got everything so put together and that no one makes mistakes. I want to inform you, in case you do feel that way, that that is the furthest thing from the truth. Everybody makes mistakes, and everybody at some point regrets certain things. How you handle that regret moving forward says a lot about you and your character, and Stoic principles can really come to light depending on how you control situations that are within your control. That being said, I wanted to briefly touch on 3 things that have happened to me during the course of my career that in hindsight I think could have been handled better. And obviously hindsight is 2020, so at the time I did what I thought was right. That's not to say it was right, and it's not to say it was wrong. Where you were in your life at a particular period of time is where you were. And hopefully, as mentioned at the top of this video, you get to a point where you grow and you can admit your faults. So one of the first of many mistakes that I feel I have made in this career would be changing my first band/artist name. When I was in my late teens, early 20s, I was in a band that became fairly well known, at least regionally and even nationally in the country that I grew up in. We toured relentlessly. We really developed a reputation as a live band, eventually got a record deal, had songs on radio, were on TV constantly, etc., etc., etc. Then, as the years went on and things started to go a little bit pear-shaped, I never had the insight to think that maybe things could change within that band and the project itself could keep going like a brand. So we broke the band up only to have to start again with our next project because the next project had some of the same band members in. In hindsight, that was a mistake. We should have kept that band name because of all the work that had been done. Now, bands do this, sometimes singers will pass away and they'll replace a singer and they keep the band name. Or even the writers in the band will change and they'll keep the band name. And often fans feel like they should have an opinion on this and that it's wrong, but try and think of it from a brand perspective as to how detrimental it would be to that brand if they suddenly have to start from scratch. Imagine something as well known as the Coca-Cola brand suddenly pulling all their products from the shelf, putting the same product in a different bottle, but no one recognized the branding. They would essentially lose their revenue. That's what happens to bands when they change their names if they have a reputation, and definitely happened to the band that I was in. At number 2, the second thing that I think would possibly fall under that I regret it category is the way that that same band that I mentioned in point number 1 handled the end of the road with our manager. To give you bullet points and not keep you here forever, the long and short of it is we had become fairly well known in South Africa and had been given an opportunity to do a showcase for a label in London. At least this is what we thought. So we had booked a few shows in the United Kingdom. We had kind of done a bunch of farewell tours in South Africa and had come to the conclusion that this was going to be our big break. When it turned out not to be our big break, we felt a little bit jolted and we started to definitely become a little bit dismissive towards our manager at the time. The manager got sick. We literally dropped them off at a hospital with their bags, and that was the end of it. At the time, this felt like the right thing to do. We had the guys in the band thinking that we had been misled, and as 20-year-olds full of piss and vinegar, we thought we had handled what we needed to handle in a bravado kind of macho way. With age, I've learned that we could have handled that much better. Yes, we felt misled, but maybe there were reasons for that. Maybe communication was broken from the start. Maybe we should have asked more questions. And likewise, that particular manager might have also enlightened us to certain things. Both parties were at fault. However, in hindsight, we could have handled the situation better and all left on much better terms. Which leads me to once again speak about something I have spoken about before, which is rather than getting heated in the moment and letting your pride and ego become your main focus, try and push that to the side and have a conversation, an open, cordial conversation, and fix the problem at its source. If you can resolve things, happy days, you keep working together. If you can't, you can at least part in a nice, peaceful way. And thirdly, and this one still kind of cuts a little bit close to the bone, but in my early 20s, the band that started after the band mentioned in point 1 and 2 were offered a gig from a promoter who we had heard was a little bit sketchy. We took the gig nonetheless, only to find out a few days before the actual performance that we were getting quite shafted. We had been promised a sixth of the money that he had agreed to get paid from the venue. When I found that out, I said to everybody in the band, we're not going to do the show, and we just didn't show. Again, at the time, that young testosterone, I'm right, he's wrong kind of mentality felt like the right thing to do. Now that I've organized shows myself and been in bands for as long as I have, and also having that insight that you can say no, I think it would have been much better once that band had found out that we were getting shafted to pick up the phone and say, yo, dude, we're not playing your show. You're totally taking advantage of us and you're relying on us to bring all the people so that you make all this money and we're getting a portion. So rather than having agreed to it and then not showed, we should have canceled beforehand. And the thing that I've learned from that was you never don't show. And if you are not happy about doing a gig, say so. It'll save face and it will save you a lot of heartache in the moment if things go tits up. Now, I've had years to replay these events in my mind, try and learn from them, and hopefully get better as a person and become more professional and know what not to do. Sometimes you learn from doing the wrong thing. And these 3 things are things that I definitely feel were wrong in the grand scheme of things. In conclusion, the reason I'm sharing these 3 stories with you is not because I live with regret. I don't. I like to believe that I've learned from situations in my life and become a better human, a better musician, a better businessman. But I share them so that hopefully you can learn what to do or what not to do, and at least try and make better decisions in the time. Your youth is no excuse for being a douchebag. And I'm not trying to assume all blame in those situations, but I definitely was part of the problem. We shouldn't live in regret. Life is way too short. So if you've made mistakes, wash them away, try your best to learn from them, and move on. I hope this helped. I'll talk to you on the next one.